Hello, we're live. Welcome to the Fresh Labs live show, episode 3. And I want to make sure we are all live. Johnny, are you good to go?
Yeah, it looks like we're good to go. Welcome everyone that's joining. It looks like we're live across Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, maybe a few other places. So thank you for all those that are joining.
Cool. Well, today we're going to cover the word of the day, starting with the digital twin. And we're going to cover the Robinhood and Gamestop crypto wallets. We're also going to cover the music metaverse, which is very interesting. And we have at the end the mysterious question of the week. And we don't actually even know the answer to that yet, or the question of it yet. So we're going to try to answer live. But let us first introduce ourselves. My name is Elisha Terada. I'm the Technical Innovation Director at Fresh Consulting. And we have a co host, Johnny Rodriguez, with us. And he is
Hello,
the
hello.
Strategic Innovation Director at Fresh Consulting.
Yeah,
And let's
we work for a pretty awesome company, freshconsulting.com. You can check us out there if you don't already know Fresh. But we work on a lot of cool things, and today we're covering some pretty awesome topics.
Yeah, well, let's get right into it with the first part of the show, which is word of that day. And the word of the day is digital twin. And Joni, I think you're maybe more expert in this one, but let me take a first stab at what I recognize as digital twin. And we had some not live, recorded shows in the past where you can watch in our YouTube where we talked about digital twin. How can we have basically a copy of ourselves who kind of look like us and talk like us, maybe even to the point of AI controlling like and acting like us, even though we're maybe sleeping on the bed in real life. Our digital twin might be actually moving around in the metaverse, acting like me and talking like me to the other strangers. And I think the concept was very tightly coupled with this concept of how can we have celebrities in metaverse and multiple places at once, so you can have encounter with your favorite celebrity, and that physical person doesn't have to be at many places at the same time. They can just meet you right in your room instead of having to be at certain event or party. And most of the time those are exclusive events that you don't even have access to, right? So I think that's the understanding that I have. And Johnny, maybe you can correct me or maybe expand on it a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to offer a perspective on this. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think there's definitely a part there that has to do with a virtual representation of something that is normally a physical thing. So this can be something like an object, it could be a process, it can be an environment, it can be a like you talked about the avatar as one of the components. So I think the thing that I've heard the most in our industry when it relates to a digital twin is actually more around a virtual representation of an environment. I think typically I've seen that. So, for example, Microsoft, a company that's very actively doing things around, we know about the HoloLens from augmented reality, things like that, but they actually have what's called an industrial metaverse. Um, it's essentially they're targeting kind of the industrial space, but they often have that synonymous with a digital twin. So essentially, they have like a digital twin workspace. So they've actually partnered. It's actually surprising that we're talking about this. I don't think we planned this, but yesterday in the news, Microsoft talked about how they partnered with Kawasaki. This is like the motorcycle company, like they're an automaker. And they've already partnered before with Heinz, right? The ones that do the ketchup. And they've also partnered with Boeing. And this is three companies that have a manufacturing presence. And so, specifically, what they're doing, right? If we want to get into the details, is these manufacturing locations will have HoloLenses, and they can actually do remote repairs for people, right? We've seen a lot of stuff of that around the few years, but also it's around being able to like think about how much money you would save on being able to create a clone of your factory, right? An actual digital one-for-one representation. And then you're thinking about your manufacturing line, your supply chain, and then being able to actually go and place that and be able to combat those supply chain problems that you typically face in an environment. So I think I've seen things like tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars that can be saved by being able to represent something in a virtual environment first, to test something, to see how something might work, and then that essentially helps and builds products faster and more efficiently. So I think that's the kind of the main thing that
That
I've seen from a digital twin perspective. Yes, there is an avatar component. There's also a NFT, right? If you think about digital twins of shoes, um, you might have like Nike shoes that you buy physically, and we're hearing the word called phygital, which is physical and digital.
digital. Never
Phygital
heard of
is kind
that.
of another
Okay.
another terminology that I'm sure we'll cover in the future, but it's also kind of under this umbrella of digital twin. So it is kind of an umbrella category for a virtual or digital representation of something that's physical.
Got it. And so you're saying that digital twin doesn't have to be a literal twin of a person, but it could
Mhm.
be a space or building or an object that basically tries to map one to one, and that can be used for training and obvious
Yes.
reasons, right? Like maybe
Yep.
doctors might want to use it, or each construction manager might want to see how the building is set up without like being in the physical locations.
Yes.
And that's actually
Yep.
very cool because
It's
it
yeah.
opens up opportunities for example, maybe like I'm on a wheelchair and I can't physically visit a place, but maybe I have worked as a construction manager for a long time and I can still, give all my knowledge and expertise to the team without having to be in the place. And it might not be feasible, right? Or as easy to do. So I kind of like that.
Mhm.
Digital twin basically provides opportunity for knowledge working. And previously, it may have been more physical work that you have to be there to see it. But now you could shift some of the work to the digital work just by
Yep.
creating the digital twin
Yes.
of it.
I think maybe another thing to offer in here, if you think about like maybe different applicable locations where this might work. So we talked about manufacturing, Microsoft there, but it might even be like your favorite clothing boutique or your favorite store. You might have a digital clone of an actual store, and you have a metaverse counterpart, right? Digital twin. And then it could be that yes, you can shop physically at this Adidas or Nike store, your H&M, whatever it is, but you can also go into the metaverse, into a virtual digital version of that, and actually can shop and maybe try things on, and you can like do things there. And so there is kind of that interconnected place where you might represent things. I think about Fresh Consulting and how we're actually in the process of building a metaverse campus. And then there's also this, like, what we could have done and companies can do is they actually might represent, you can go and take photos of your location and then go and hire somebody like Fresh, right, to go in and create a one for one representation of your office. And you actually might have people, your employees go into, like, when you're booking rooms, now you're thinking about like booking your virtual rooms, right? And you might have the same waiting area, you might have same conference rooms, working representation. So we're seeing more and more of that, right? From a healthcare standpoint, it might be that you're doing a really risky surgery digitally, and actually going over and doing that over and over before you actually do that physically. There's movies that do things like this where they show that, where it's like, anyway, we won't get into that, but lots of applications for a digital twin as it relates to the metaverse and a digital representation of something.
Would you say the Samsung store, the 837X, would you say that was a digital twin, or that's different because it's not really clone of a store, right?
It's Yeah, that's a good question. I think that it's partially a digital twin. If from the outside, right, it looked exactly like you would see 837X in New York City. If you look that up, maybe go back to our YouTube video to see what we talked about there. But the outside looked just like it. But when you went inside, right, it was a game, and they kind of changed it. They altered it to feel more optimized for a virtual space where you might go and do things. So I would say partially.
Got it. Okay, so it's more closely mimicking. That's when we call it more digital twin, and also matching up the functionality, probably not just like from the look
Hmm.
outside.
Correct. Yeah, I think that's my perspective for sure.
Well, would you say when you say digital twin, do you think people imagine like twin of myself, or do you think it's people understand that it's like a buildings and objects and that I think I see two use cases
Yeah.
there.
I think the word twin is what kind of makes it feel like it's more tied to people because we use the word twin not for a physical virtual representation. We call twins when you have another twin, right? You're born and you have an identical or non-identical or I think there's a better word for that. But anyway, we're thinking about humans and twins with humans. And so I think that could be confusing. I think we might want to call that something different. If we could redo that word, right? It'd probably be called like a digital one for one or something like that.
Got it. Well, let's move on to the next section. Robinhood and GameStop, they are planning, one of them is planning to open, one of them has already opened up the crypto wallet. And I'm just going to walk through the article as a primer. So we're on the Yahoo Finance page here. Robinhood launches new no transaction fee crypto wallet. Robinhood is launching a new standalone Web3 cryptocurrency wallet that will pay blockchain network transaction fee for its customers without holding customer assets in custody. And if you're not familiar with the custodial versus non-custodial wallet, custodial means some entity or company is holding the wallet for you. For example, I think when a lot of people open up Coinbase accounts and stuff, I would say that's custodial because Coinbase is still owning that. But non-custodial, such as MetaMask, it's basically up to you to secure your wallet, and there is no such thing as like a refund or recover. Like if your key gets stolen, well, nobody is backing that up for you, but also nobody is like overwatching your account. So non-custodial is the wallet that you hold maybe physically in your hand. You could think of a custodial as your, money sitting in your bank, where someone is insuring, someone is securing. Whereas wallet, if you lose your wallet, well, there's no recover my wallet support call, right?
Yep.
You lose it and it's done. So
It
Robinhood,
reminds me of the Bitcoin thing where people mined Bitcoin and then they lost their account. I was one of those. I didn't have that much, but
oh, you lost it.
definitely is a
Okay.
thing. Yeah, definitely a thing that happens even today with Ethereum based stuff and all that.
Yeah, so basically Robinhood opened up non-custodial wallet. So hey, we support because Robinhood, if you think about it, you buy stuff, you buy stocks and everything, and Robinhood is still owning it. Sometimes you can even buy partial stock through Robinhood, and that made their service a little bit more popular. But that means like Robinhood is still the owner of the actual stock, and you're actually not even stockholder. But this time it's a little bit different where they're offering non-custodial, it's a little hard to say, non-custodial wallet so that you basically own your wallet. And I would say this is basically competing straight on with the MetaMask, Coinbase wallet, and all these wallet that exists. And it's interesting that Robinhood decides to enter into this competitive market where there is already a big winner, the MetaMask. And what's also interesting is followed by that, GameStop also debuted their crypto and NFT wallet that markets don't value. Oh, I think this is more like opinion based, but basically GameStop debuts crypto and NFT wallet just like the Robinhood, and it's very interesting because it's kind of back to back announcement where two companies maybe coincidentally announce the wallet. And it's basically same deal where they're offering the non-custodial wallet and they're selling it as well. Game is getting big, so we are going to enter it, and you can buy, sell, hold NFTs and all these things that many wallets can already do. And it's very interesting to me, Johnny, that both players decide to enter. And while Robinhood to me makes more sense because you're in the finance business, whereas GameStop is not, but they're trying to come in with the angle of, hey, we're gonna be cool again. We're gonna kind of maybe move from the physical game store where that was declining to let us play into the this new cool space, and with the angle of like game. I think they're trying to appeal to like a gamer. It's like, hey, if you're a gamer, create the GameStop wallet. Maybe they are going to do some partnership with some game studios. Because I remember when I uh, reserve a copy of them, oftentimes if you reserve it through GameStop, you get this extra in-game avatar and other additional items in the game, and they will send you the code. So I know GameStop has done partnership with the game studios where they
Hmm.
want you to buy through them instead of going to Amazon or other stores. So I could see that. Hey,
Interesting.
if you buy a game and if you have GameStop wallet, then maybe you get their drop or something like that. So I do see some use case, but I think I also see community reacting with like, why are you doing this now? There's already a MetaMask. Are you just
Hmm.
trying to shift your business and pour more money into something that might not work? And it's very interesting because Robinhood, GameStop going on at the same time. I assume there are more brands who's going to say, "Hey, we created our wallet and you should use ours." How constantly we see new credit card coming into the market that offers unique benefits. Like you can win a Bitcoin if you use the credit card and swipe it every time you enter the raffle. And I've seen a lot of these coming in like every year. There's always a new player coming in. And Joni, I want to get your initial impression on players coming in with new wallet offering.
Yeah, it's I am seeing, I mean, yeah, I actually didn't know about the Robinhood one, even though I'm a Robinhood user. So I mean, I think that's very fresh off the printer there. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think as somebody that uses MetaMask and uses the Phantom wallet for things that are more Solana based, and then yeah, MetaMask for Ethereum. I'm often comparing a lot of these. So, I'm looking at like, oh, I'm looking at where is the compatibility. I'm looking at, where's the ease of use. Do they have a mobile app? Do they have a browser, Chrome extension? So I'm thinking about like all these different I'm checking all these different things, but it's hard for me to think that I would want to shift from like like MetaMask to something else, unless there's like a really really solid reason for to do that. So I'm not sure. It's there's got to be a lot of benefits for those that are already investing. I think if there are platforms like are coming out with GameStop and Robinhood and others, right? We're probably going to see another 20 this year. If they can find a way to make it more easily accessible to those at other generations, right? I'm thinking of like my grandparents, even like a
Mm,
generation above me, right? Like my parents, what is it, Gen X, thinking about how do we make that super easy for them. And I think if somebody can solve that process, that could be a huge deal for adoption on a whole generation of people. And then there's the other thought that comes to mind is for those that are already using it, maybe millennials and then eventually Gen Z, right? Um, there will be, I think, as there's more compatibility around cross blockchain wallets. I think that's something where a lot of people are like actively looking at the news for that, right? Like, hey, now MetaMask does Solana and it does Polygon and it does, I'm thinking about all the different chains, multi-chain kind of crypto wallets will be another big one. So I don't know. It's interesting to see the news on that. I am curious from the audience, like anybody that's watching here on the different platforms we're on, what crypto wallets do you use? Are you using MetaMask or do you use one at all? Would love to kind of get a sense for the usage of different crypto wallets because yeah, more and more will come out, but they all have their own nuances and there have to be some pretty convincing reasons for me to shift from what I'm doing, and I'm curious about others' usage of other platforms.
yeah, I think you touched on a good point where we do use MetaMask, and I would say majority of people in the space do, but the generation that's not currently in the NFT, not NFT, the wallet world, I think GameStop is one interesting entry point because I know parents or grandparents buy, games for their children, right? Especially younger kids. And they might be discovering this wallet first time when they buy the games.
Interesting.
Maybe or maybe in person, right? Where when you talk with the salesperson, they might say, "Hey, do you have a crypto wallet, get extra game item?" And the parents are like, what? What is that? Like, how do I sign up?" And like, "Oh, it's easy. Just download the application." Just like I have to download applications for at the sushi place we go, Kura Sushi. We also download application flow, and a lot of retail places make you download the app so I can get the coupon right from the application. And of course, I want to get some discount. So okay, well, I'll download it one time and just install the application, show the coupon. And I wonder if the same thing will happen with the GameStop. Like, hey, just download the GameStop app and just create username, password, and there you go. You have a wallet, and voila.
Interesting. Yeah.
The generation who didn't have a wallet might be now possessing GameStop wallet. I don't know
Interesting.
how the Robinhood is gonna approach because that feels like you're targeting a similar audience that already have
Interesting.
MetaMask.
Well,
But
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I think as a user, as an investor, like as somebody that invests in the stock market using Robinhood, it does seem like more accessible. Had that been available over other platforms, I probably would have been like, oh, I can just like turn that on, and I already use it for my investing, and now I can get it all consolidated in a platform. So there's a lot of benefits to using something that you already use. So to your point, right? If you can get some of these companies that already have a large user base that use login, and you can turn on, you can like almost like a checkbox or a toggle to say, hey, I want to use this now. And it enables like, hey, now you can, with Robinhood, you can go and buy something in OpenSea, or with your Epic Games login, or your think about Apple, right? And their Game Center. It's like all these different platforms that might use, for cross game, cross environment um, logins, right? Imagine if Google came out with one. That could be interesting, right? Google sign on, and you activate that in your
Mm,
Google account. I think there would be some mass adoption there if you get like an email company. But there's probably nuances there that we're not thinking about, or that I'm not thinking about, that come with that. But I think that those are the type of integrations that I think would trigger a mass adoption of a crypto wallet and become more and more accessible. So it could be
yeah,
interesting.
I can definitely see Google and Microsoft because they are already like one of the two major players in emails and corporate softwares, that I could see if they release something like that, you could issue crypto wallet for all the employees in your company and ask them to use that to log into Spatial IO or the Microsoft meeting room, hosted virtually, right? Instead of using their actual email account, they can just use the wallet. And the
Yeah.
tie in would be, okay, if you use the wallet, then you can download, the suit avatar for yourself. That you can, like, oh, I want to upgrade my suit within the Microsoft, world or
Hmm.
something. And then I'll
We
pay,
yeah
yeah, and
yeah
I'll
it's
pay,
true.
yeah, some money to buy that, right? To look better than my coworkers or something.
On the note of the crypto wallets, we actually have a comment here from Donnie. Thanks for your comment on this, Donnie. Ledger Nano X. This is a really cool one. This is actually one that has a hardware component to it, right? There's a Bluetooth enabled hardware wallet, um, but essentially it's all kind of managed physically through some hardware. You know about this one, right, Elisha?
Yeah, I think we touched on this shortly before, and I'm bringing up the website and see if it loads. Unfortunately, it's loading a little bit slow for me. But yeah, it works with the wallets like MetaMask, where if you want a little bit more security, because technically you could, I don't know, expose your key somewhere online and they can just access by typing the same thing, right? And instead, you could have this hardware component where like it could only be unlocked with this physical key. So, and I don't actually know if they have a wallet itself. I bet they do. That's not a MetaMask. So that is definitely one option that, yeah, users can use. And that would be interesting. Yeah, I wonder if people are going to adopt these hardware devices or if they simply use their phone because it's cheaper, they already have it. Just like the corporate laptop, like I just log in with the password, but I know some corporates are strict about using YubiKey to physically log in by inserting this USB drive.
Yep.
So the adoption may not be as great for consumer level, but I'm pretty sure through the applications and maybe multiple, MFA, multi-factor authentication, there may be some interesting thing happening there.
Yep.
But yeah, let the question come in, but we are going to move on to the next topic, the music metaverse. And Johnny,
Mhm.
you are going to lead this one. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is an interesting one. I'm excited to chat a little bit about this one. The news article that came out, and I'll share my screen here for sure. Make sure I can share the audio. Um, but let's move this here to the side. So yes, we're going to talk a little bit about the music metaverse. There was an actual article that came out about the Notorious B.I.G. You might know him as Biggie Smalls. But this article is across a few different news sites. This is from the Huffington Post, but it said basically the Notorious B.I.G. comes back to life in hyper-realistic metaverse world, the Brook, right? And it says fans will be able to step into a virtual world and experience cultural roots of the Brooklyn rapper. So for those that actually don't know the Notorious B.I.G., he was around, born in the 70s, 1972. And he was actually murdered in a drive-by shooting in LA, like 6 months after Tupac in 1997. His name's Christopher Wallace. But he's an American rapper and songwriter from New York, from the East Coast. People, I think he's widely considered one of the best rappers of all time. There's some accolades down at the bottom there, right? A couple years ago, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The Rolling Stones have him as the greatest rapper that ever lived, things like that. But awesome rapper. Yeah, no way. Biggie Smalls hitting the metaverse. Biggie Smalls hitting the metaverse, exactly. So it's called the Brook Metaverse. Um, and it's expected to launch later this year, and it will allow fans to basically explore the virtual environment, purchase virtual real estate, attend concerts, buy and sell NFTs. So a lot of the things that you're seeing when you think about the definition of the metaverse, right? The social component, buying and selling, entertainment, right? A lot of these things that you would see. You can actually see this at thebrook.io, by the way, if you want to get more information. But I do want to play this video, Elisha. It just has a quick promo. It's only like a minute long here. I'm hoping the audio comes through. So I'll mute my audio for my microphone, and I'm hoping I can kind of share the little promo for this about Biggie Smalls in the Brook Metaverse.
Hey, yo, Big, let's go.
Whatever you gonna do, just do it for a reason, you know what I'm saying? Don't be the fool to just sit back and do it because somebody else is doing it. Because the only thing you're gonna do is follow in somebody else's footsteps and you're just gonna be a shadow. Who will be a shadow for the rest of their life, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then just towards the end of this, they actually show real footage of actually running around. Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
I
pretty
wasn't
awesome.
sure on the first segment if it was a real person or not.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that. What were your first impressions on that, by the way?
Yeah, it looked really good. And I was like, wait, is this like Unreal Engine like 5 or something that's being used?
That is
Is it a
exactly what it is.
pre-rendered? Okay, okay. I was like, is it a pre-rendered CG or is it a, live, characters moving within the engine?
Yeah.
Wow,
So
that's so cool.
yeah, if you look here on the left versus the right, the left is actually a real photo that he had with P. Diddy. There's a bunch in that photo album, but you can see a side by side. The left is the real photo, and the right is the hyper realistic one, rendered inside of Unreal Engine 5, which was just launched earlier this month by Epic Games, the creators of Fortnite. And you can get a
Wow.
sense for that. And there's also like there's rendering and all this. There's a lot happening with I think it's Nan Light and lots of stuff that comes with Unreal Engine 5 to accomplish this. But you could see that in that video, he looks very, very hyper realistic. So and
Yeah, I was like really confused. Like, wait, is this a real person? Like, maybe it look a little bit too clean,
yeah,
but it's like I was like I got confused. Like, honestly, like, is it
yeah.
just? I thought it was like an actor maybe acting on behalf or something.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think that there probably were elements of some of the render, like you can render out a video and get some hyper realism. Like
Mhm.
Unreal Engine 5 was used for The Mandalorian, for example, and so they use that particular engine for some stuff there. So they'll leverage it for video, but in this particular case, it's an actual interactive environment. So the
Wow.
development is led by Remington Scott, who's the CEO of Hyperreal, and he was the VFX director for Gollum on the Lord of the Rings. For all those that know Lord of the Rings, Spider Man and 2 and 3, right? And so there's like a big name there. And the biggest state is partnering with these two companies to actually launch this. So I'm excited to talk about this a little bit because I'd never heard of Burst Live, but they are essentially a new form of, they're like a company that is focused on a new form of entertainment, combining a metaverse world with NFTs, and they're basically partnering with artists, right, to be able to launch things. And in this case, they're partnering with Biggie's estate, essentially, to be able to do this. And on the right hand side, we have Surreal Events, which is a company that not a lot of people know of. But they are allowing audiences, like it says here, connect, create, collaborate, celebrate, all this stuff, right? But what's interesting about this is just I think it was on our last live stream a week ago, Elisha. We talked about Epic Games launching their own metaverse environment, and we gave a preview of that. We're planning on doing a deeper dive on that in the future. But Surreal Events is actually the company that built that, and so they're leveraging Unreal Engine 5. It's super hyper realistic, like you saw. So it's a company that's doing lots of really interesting stuff. So yeah, Surreal Events. What's really cool about this is, as I think about the metaverse and the future of the metaverse, it has to be like highly accessible, right? And so it is web based, photorealistic, scalable, meaning you can have in this particular environment, you can have from 100 to 50,000 people. There are current metaverse environments that are limited to something like 50, for example, and so this is actually quite scalable. They're social first, right? So they want it to be highly interactive. They care about the interaction you have with people, and their metaverse is built in a way where almost anything you can sit at, and then it turns into kind of private conversations and stuff like that. We'll dive into that one deeper, but it's a pretty uh, you know interesting partnership, and I think it'll be cool to see how that plays out. So it's less about Biggie, even though that's amazing, and I'm super excited about that. It's about the fact that they are launching these verses, right? When we talk about the metaverse, it's not a single. There's not going to be a single winner. At least we're not suspecting that there'll be a single winner of a single metaverse environment that won, right? It's multiple verses that exist, and there will be one called the Brook that will be kind of based off of Biggie. But it kind of goes into this conversation, Elisha, that I think we've talked about before, of this music metaverse, right? So we talked about Burst Live. They're an entertainment company that's kind of combining some things there. But there are metaverse platforms out there. Some would argue that Fortnite and Roblox are early versions of metaverses, right? They have large adoption. Fortnite is played by 40% of children. If you have a 10 to 17-year-old at home, or if you know 10 to 17-year-olds out in the world, 40% of those kids, almost half, are playing Fortnite, which is insane. That's a massive number. They have 80.4 million active users, but they've held concerts in Fortnite, right? Marshmello had 10.7. Travis Scott was a huge deal, 12.3. And then last year, Ariana Grande, like 27 27 million participants. This is like a huge deal, right? If you think about the most popular show on TV right now, I think it's actually on Fox, and it's one of the singing shows, and that one has like 10.2 million viewers. So if you talk about viewership and where the eyes are on these different concerts, right? Like, it's insane to look at these. Travis Scott made, I think, $50 million off of this, right? Ariana Grande made a very similar amount. So it's like these artists are thinking about, like, do I go and do 10 shows in person? Of course they're going to want to still do that. But now they're seeing this additional source of being able to kind of interact with the younger generation in this case, to be able to do their performances. And so this is like the music
Yeah.
metaverse is like a real thing.
Yeah, and they just need to make the digital twin of themselves, right? And then
Exactly.
move and sing for them with the pre-recorded sequence, and
Yeah, it's like, think about, they might need to copyright their avatars that are cross metaverse, cross virtual environments, and things like that. So, I mean, just to give you another quick comparison, Fortnite had that 80 million monthly active users, 40% of kids. Roblox is even crazier. If I'm being honest, it's 66% of children between 9 and 12, and they have 202 million. Like, do you see the number on that? 80 million monthly, 202 million. Every single day, there's 50 million kids between 9 and 12 jumping in. Actually, it's daily active users, so it's kind of all users there, but it's massive. Lil Nas X did a show there in 2020, and he had 33 million participants. 21 Pilots did one last year, and they had 13.4. This is not including like the Twitch numbers and the YouTube numbers that watched just remotely and didn't jump into the environment. So the numbers even bigger, and they've made even more there. So we're seeing that, like, entertainment, specifically music, is absolutely working in these environments, and it's an absolute, it's a almost a proven landscape, a proven model that already works in these virtual environment, these metaverse environments, which is pretty amazing. Elisha, we were at South by Southwest this year in Austin, and we actually got to see this, right? The Hottyverse. This is done by Amaze VR. They don't have the numbers of the ones you saw with Fortnite and Roblox, but I want to show that there are companies that are partnering with these artists, right? This is Megan Thee Stallion, and that's me on the bottom right, playing one of the games that was connected to this experience. And on the bottom left, I don't know if you've seen this, Elisha, there's actually a video they have on YouTube of their actual concerts, where all these people have their VR headsets and they're renting out these movie theaters, and they're actually doing the VR concert, where they're using the audio system of the concert, of the actual location, and then like the visuals of the VR headsets, and they're going and doing tons of touring, right? So Megan Thee Stallion's the first ever VR concert tour that's ever been done, right? So amazing stuff happening there. They talked about introducing the quote unquote Hottyverse, but really what they're talking about is a metaverse environment for artists to do live shows and things like that. So not only is Fortnite doing it and Roblox doing it, you have companies like Amaze VR that are doing some interesting things there.
Yeah, I like that there are many options of consuming where you could attend live, for example, in a Fortnite or Roblox. You could also go to like a theater, right?
Yep.
It's a pre-recorded live that you can watch with your friends and families, and you don't have to own the headset. I think that's still the barrier to the entry
Yep.
in this space, where not many people have it, and
It's true.
they can experience through the web browser, because these things are becoming very accessible. But
Yep.
yeah, having the option to go to theater is pretty fun.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point that, like, as it relates to these metaverse environments, like, I think a lot of the skepticism that comes with the metaverse is like, well, there isn't that massive adoption of VR yet, right? Like, that's always the thing. Oh, there isn't a mass adoption yet. So it becomes an argument. But the reality is the metaverse isn't just VR. It's web-based, it's mobile, it's in your game systems. It's essentially like the entry point can be a number of different devices. It might be like, when AR catches on a little bit more, it might be in your AR glasses. It might be something you're wearing, and it be, you'd be consuming the concert, Megan Thee Stallion, instead of a completely immersive environment. She's in your office or in your room, and she's doing the show that way. So there might be different methods, different entry points for it. So
Yeah.
So anyway, that's another one, and I think the last one here I wanted to show is the Meta Horizon Worlds, which is, formerly Facebook. They changed their name. They have a few different environments, right? We have Horizon Worlds. They have Horizon venues is where they do their events. And it was just announced this month, Elisha. I don't know if you heard this, but they're actually consolidating venues into Worlds. They have 300,000 monthly active users. So it doesn't seem as astronomical as 202 million like Roblox. But what's fascinating about this is Roblox is like on your mobile phone. Mass adoption's already happened on mobile phones. Roblox is on in other environments too, or other devices too. But Horizon Worlds is consumable today strictly in a VR environment. And for them to have 300,000 monthly active users, that's a pretty big deal. And they've already held, this is what's crazy. I went and actually ran the numbers on this, 842 total events in the last 2 years. They've had like the Foo Fighters, which you see down on the bottom, Billie Eilish, Steve Aoki. They've had concerts like right around the Super Bowl, I think was the one they did with the Foo Fighters. But anyway, they're holding events. Not all of these are music events. They're just entertainment. Some of them are like, wrestling, and some of them they're different types of events. But we're seeing that they're actually, another metaverse environment here, Horizon Worlds, that is seeing traction around entertainment, music specifically, for this. So super interesting.
Do you remember how many concurrent users you can have, or do they have a mechanism where if if someone is like singing or hosting an event that more than like 50 users can watch and join? I'm very interested in
they
how
do.
they are handling the volume.
Every different metaverse environment handles it differently. I'd love to create a graphic. We probably should do this, that shows maybe the top environments with the most users, monthly active users. Maybe look at the top 10 and then say, what is their limit on their servers, right? So Decentraland, for example, is 100. Meta Horizon, I believe, is also 100. Spatial is 50. Fortnite, I think, is a way bigger number, but they also do instancing. But a lot of these environments are building it where the performer is across all instances, even though there's a cap to users. So if it's 100, it could be that they have 100 servers with 100 users in each, right? So now you have a large viewership, right? And so not all, 10,000 or, millions of users are all in the same environment. It's just a crowded environment, right? They're using instancing of their servers to be able to handle that. And so that's absolutely something we're seeing. Like Spatial, for example, has a limitation of 50. It's a huge limitation, but they've already announced that they're going to increase that. And there's some things coming this year. I don't know how much we can share there, but they're doing some things there to help with that, right? For kind of the business use case of the metaverse. And Horizon Worlds does something very similar.
Yeah, it's very cool. We should probably try to have a meeting inside there once.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they consolidate it, because I think that just makes it simple and easy. And like, just hop onto one single application and we'll be there together.
Yep. So yeah, I think we're going to see more and more improvements, but I think we're going to continue to see more of the entertainment space, again, more specifically the music metaverse, right? The verses of music that will exist across different artists, different companies that are trying to host things, but it'll continue to be a way to kind of consume entertainment through the metaverse. Again, through all these different entry points. It might be in the web, like we saw with the B.I.G, the Brook, right? The B.I.G Smalls metaverse environment. What we saw with Epic Games. We talked about Fortnite and Roblox. I mean, lots of interesting things happening there. We're going to see more and more adoption as that kind of continues to happen. But I think the takeaway that I wanted to mention, Elisha, is I do think that the metaverse, the music metaverse, is here, and it's been here, and it's a proven model that already exists. And we're going to start to see more and more industries kind of adopt that.
Yeah, that's very cool. And before we move on to the last section, I want to call out to subscribe to Fresh Labs. We are on YouTube, and we release video every week, including this live stream show as well. And also in LinkedIn, we are creating the event every single week to invite you guys to join this live show from LinkedIn. You also have option to join from YouTube and Twitter if you follow us. And also, we want to welcome a lot of questions. Even after we finish talking about each section, we would like to come back and address some of the interesting questions that you guys ask. So with that, I believe we're on the question of the week,
which we don't have any clue. The way this works is we don't know what the question is. It's hopefully not too crazy of a question for us, but it's an opinion-based question here where we might have some differences of opinions potentially, and we're going to see this for the first time.
Okay. In 5 years, how much time do you predict we will spend in the metaverse? Okay, so yeah, I finally watched the Ready Player One, Johnny, um, on
Amazing, man!
Netflix.
We should have live streamed
Yeah,
that, Elisha. Oh,
yeah, it was very interesting to watch. It's like one way of casting. And to be honest, it's interesting because in Japanese animations, there are a lot of concept around, you put on the VR headset to jump into the virtual game world, and you realize you can't go back to the real world anymore, and then the life begins from there on. So there are a lot of like fictional animations that me and my wife Leah used to watch, but Ready Player One was interesting approach where it's more realistic Hollywood-based film, and it shows that the life is almost like there's not much to the real life. So we're looking forward to put our headset on and then find the interesting life there, and then there's your true passion of finding this like thing. And I won't disclose too much about the movie, but it was very interesting, and it does make you think, are we headed to the world, and are we going to see metaverse as escape like in the movie, or are we going to see metaverse as it's just an augmentation? It's just like going to the movie, it's just like playing sports, it's just an optional part of our life that some people are very interested in and passionate about, while other people may care less and never feel the need to interact with it. So I think our prediction of how much time we will spend in metaverse is probably influenced by which future path, which parallel world path do we see where the world is headed to. And Johnny, do you have any initial like prediction of like a lot of time versus like not much
hmm.
time, or depends on the people?
Yeah. I mean, I tend to, like, when I think about the future, right? Like if it's 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, I like to look back and to see how much we advanced, and then to see the acceleration, the speed of adoption of different technology. So if we think about like 5 years back, right? Or even, yeah, just looking back, the advancements, right? Like Oculus was acquired by Facebook 2014, $2 billion,
Mhm.
right? Since then, we've had a few versions of VR headsets. We've had a few versions of AR headsets. We have massive announcements coming this year, right? From Apple, Project Cambria that's coming from Facebook. We have I could keep going. There's so many AR VR headsets, which again I would consider emerging hardware technologies that will enable more experiences in quote unquote this future metaverse, right? And so I think that we're going to see more advancements. I think that at 5 years from now, I think we will have a mass adoption of smart glasses. Maybe not AR glasses or VR. VR is probably going to
Mhm.
also be mass adopted as we get more and more powerful devices. We improve ergonomics. We improve, you know, um, the fatigue that comes, the eye fatigue that comes. There's all these things that are happening. But I think, but in 5 years from now, there's going to be a wider adoption of AR and VR. I do think these metaverse environments will be cross compatible across different devices, more and more accessible, lots of verses that will exist. So I do think that I do think that the metaverse will be very prominent in our lives. We have 10 universities that are already doing, they're called metaversities. Some of those you've heard of. Stanford University is one of them. But they're like professors that are teaching, you can get your education, right? Your college education in the metaverse today. A lot of people don't know that. I think 5 years from now, I think, especially if we get another pandemic, right? We have to go virtual again. A lot of people started to figure out, like now in 2022, that there are, some interesting alternatives to the 2D Zoom, Microsoft Teams. All those are really great platforms. Lots of adoption happened, but a lot of people are starting to look at other platforms, metaverse environments for education, for their businesses, for a lot of their daily stand-ups and meetings with customers and things like that. And I think it'll be more and more present. I know Mark Zuckerberg predicted 5 to 10 years, mass adoption of the metaverse, right? 5 is the minimum he mentioned. That was last year. A lot of big CEOs talk about the future. Tim Cook says that it's a huge part of their future. Apple's future is the metaverse. So that's my long-winded way of saying my summary is I think the metaverse will be very prominent in every one of our lives in 5 years. And that will be because technology will, a lot of the hardware technology will advance pretty fast on the AR, VR, and coming to, we'll have, 6G by then. And so you'll be able to get more data to something that's like your smart glasses. And I think we'll be using it across different industries. So automotive, real estate, education, retail, consumer brands, all those will be highly advanced. I mean, I could go one by one, but like $2 billion was spent last year, Q1. $2 billion were spent from a financial perspective. Were spent on crypto, right? That's a massive number, and that number is even bigger this year. And we're going to continue to see. Imagine that ramp up in 5 years from now. We're talking 2027 going into 2028. So yeah, lots and lots of advancements. But Ready Player One, I don't think we'll be there. If that's the question, I don't think we're going to be in a VR headset all the time. I don't think we're going to be a VR headset. I do think we'll have more usage of virtual environments and overlays with AR and VR. All of that will absolutely be present, but I don't think we'll be fully immersed to that level where everyone has a haptic vest and has the smart smells that make you smell what's happening. Yeah, running on little treadmill. I think we'll see a lot of that, but we're gonna have to have those be massively more accessible. So definitely that's my
Ye-
perspective.
Yeah, I think you touched on a good point that maybe it's not the metaverse in the VR, but it could be the metaverse in my AR, like a little
Yeah.
side thing, metaverse in my computer,
Yep.
laptop, metaverse on my phone. And if you combine all the accessible options, then I could see that, yeah, we'll probably spend quite a bit of time
Yep.
combined. Just like how much time we spend on Zoom calls today, right?
Yep. It'll be the
And we would just replace that with the metaverse
yeah.
call, metaverse meeting, right?
Yeah, I mean,
And my,
exactly.
yeah,
I was just gonna say, like
even the classrooms, right?
Microsoft Teams, right? They've already said, hey, you're gonna be able to be an avatar. Zoom launched this year Avatar. If you haven't seen that in your Zoom platform, you can go and change yourself to a fox. You can change yourself to a turtle, I think, and you can go and like have the virtual representation. All of these are gonna eventually have your. Speaking of digital twin, you're gonna have your virtual representation. That will be more commonplace, but I think we'll start to go back to the uh, what we get from the physical environment of the proximity and how that affects our relationships, we'll start to get that back from a digital standpoint.
Yeah, so I think our conclusion probably is you will have like so many ways to interact with the metaverse that it just become part of your daily life. It's just like picking up your phone, just like wearing glasses. It's just like joining a Zoom call, but instead you might be joining a call within the metaverse. So yeah, I would say yeah, our prediction will be that we'll spend a lot of time in the metaverse. And maybe lastly, if we have any prediction about what might cause it not to be so adopted. And that could be a question that maybe we can even ask our audience. Do you agree with our take on that it will work out? Or do you have maybe more perspective that, like, I don't know, it might fail, it might be an overhyped thing, and maybe the society doesn't end up adopting it? So we would like to know, and we might even cover some of the questions or some of the answers next in the next live show as well. So let's discuss more on the topic. Yeah, even offline.
Yep.
And you can follow us on Twitter. That's one place where you can follow us. And Johnny, you have the Try Johnny on Twitter, and you can also follow on Metaverse Johnny on TikTok. It's all the Metaverse
I
topics. It's
wish I
pretty
had
cool.
your
Yeah.
single, username across all of them. I don't, uh, but it is a way to reach us. So Elisha's been posting some
Yeah.
really interesting graphics around the basics of the metaverse, things that might enable it, maybe misconceptions, definitions, things like that. If you haven't followed him, so definitely give him a follow. Um, Yeah, we've got a question here from Daryl. Have you guys set up Ready Player Me yet? We've actually done a full video
Yes.
on setting up Ready Player Me. We've actually even updated it in this last week. We actually showed their update where they added legs. And then lastly, Daryl, we've actually done an interview with their CEO, Timu Toke. It's on our YouTube account. We interviewed him, and he gave us some sneak peeks and previews of some cool things that were coming that have all been announced this month. Things like spatial and other integrations that they've had. So, yeah, it's a really good
Yeah,
cross-platform avatar system.
yeah, we'll make sure to share the URL on the LinkedIn because I know you're watching from LinkedIn. And on YouTube, we'll share the channel URL. But if you want to jump on, you can also search Fresh Laughs and it should be the first thing that comes up on the YouTube search. But yeah, go ahead and watch us. And if you haven't tried Ready Player Me, try out as well. It's very fun. And now it's going to be the avatar that will work across a lot of metaverses. So yeah, it would be very convenient as well. So we do this every week now at the same exact time. And every week we're going to cover different topics. Sometimes maybe we know some things ahead of time, but usually we're trying to cover a lot of things that happen between now and then. So a lot of things might be a little bit mysterious until you join the live show, but we encourage you to subscribe on YouTube because you'll get the live notification. And we will also send out LinkedIn invites again so that it will be sitting in your inbox in the email when we go live.
Yep.
Yeah.
And to be fully transparent, we've been making a lot of content. If you've been following us, the live streams are new. This is episode 3. So if there's something you really particularly enjoyed, um, please let us know. It helps us a lot, and we'll definitely try to make it something that's engaging for a wide variety of people. Hopefully, hoping that it's informative because it's a lot of news that's kind of happening, but also something that allows us to kind of learn together and showcase things that you're interested in.
Yep. Well, we'll see you guys next week. And thank you for joining our live today. Cool.